Howdy, my friends, and welcome into this week's episode of Forte Catholic. I'm so glad that you are here. This is episode 401 with Kathryn Whitaker. Our theme today is change and how a lot of things in both of our lives are changing, and hers seem to be for the better, and mine, even if they're good or bad, I don't like them because I don't like change. We talk about how do we deal with change. We talk about, share some funny stories about some things that are changing in our world. I hope that you enjoy this week's episode. Thank y'all for reaching out about last week's episode, our 400th episode. Very fun. I had all three of my kids on the show. Got great feedback saying that was the cutest episode we've ever done. And I agree. I liked them quite a bit. So thank y'all for celebrating episode 400 with us. And now we've got another great episode with you today. Commercial free for the whole rest of the show because me and Kathryn just get on a roll and we just follow it until the show is over. We hope that you enjoy it. If you do, please hit subscribe wherever you are watching or listening. Have fun. And welcome to Forte Catholic. I am Taylor Schroll. That is Kathryn Whitaker. Hello, Kathryn.
Howdy. I feel like I should introduce myself. It's been a while.
You were just here. You remember you gave your TED talk about parenting just a few weeks ago.
That's right.
Yeah, that's
okay.
Right.
Now it's all coming back to me.
You don't remember because it was so easy. It came so easy to you.
Right,
so.
Yeah. Okay.
We have a smattering of topics today with a loose theme of change. So, Kathryn Whitaker as a person, obviously, having your leg chopped off, bad change. Your leg growing back miraculously after you get your leg cut off, great change, right? So there can be good or bad change. I'm not talking about the extreme situations. I'm talking about in general. Kathryn Whitaker, fan, not fan of change.
Used to not be a fan of change. Getting more comfortable with change because, quite frankly, nothing ever stays the same. So I think I'm learning to enjoy whatever is happening in my life, knowing that it's not going to last forever. So you might as well just enjoy the heck out of it. And then when the bad stuff comes, you're like, it won't be here forever. Could get worse, could get better. But I think the older that I get, the better that I get with change.
I think
is that weird?
No, I think it's a great explanation because you're putting words to something I never really thought. But now, somehow my brain and what you just said, I'm as I'm getting older, anytime something bad happens that I could not foresee happening, and it's a change, and therefore I don't like it, but it also doesn't surprise me in the least at all anymore. So, right. I used to be surprised by bad things happening, and now I'm just yeah.
That tracks. You're yeah, okay. It's about time. Yeah.
This is checking. So lots of change in my life, but we have to start with a change in your life that you and I knew about when we recorded last, but we couldn't talk about it yet because it wasn't public and we couldn't reveal it here because it would have been 3 days before. It ended up being a solid, 33 hours from when we couldn't reveal the news to when we could. And I'm going to let you reveal it, which I would imagine a few people listening already know. But on the theme of change, from my perspective about the change that you're making here, is all of my co-hosts have always gone through some major change in their life. So Sean McAfee was a co-host. He moved from the United States to Italy and back to the United States. Major change in his life, right? Liv Harrison was a working human person and now is no longer a working human person. Big change after becoming co-host on this show. Allison Sullivan, not a TikTok star to TikTok star whilst on this show. Father Anthony used to be a social media star and now has left the planet Earth. John Blevins used to work at churches and now he plays video games for a living. Everybody that comes through here has major change, either positively or negatively, after interacting with me. And you didn't. You were very popular. You were an author. You were a speaker, but you weren't a podcast person. And then you joined me, and then you got 2 other podcasts, and now even more news, which you can share now.
I feel like it all involves a microphone. Yeah, so I have a weekly show with a co-host, Rachel Bowman, over on SiriusXM, the Catholic channel, which is weird to think
It is weird.
Well, because what's weird about it is because I do the same thing that I do with you, except it's broadcast nationwide, and Rachel's sitting in her living room in her house in Orlando. And I'm like, it's just weird that we're sitting in, if people could only see us, but they only hear our voices on the radio, they're like, I'm sure they're thinking, oh, they're in a studio. No, I'm just sitting in my house, looking at my dirty dishes in my sink, and also broadcasting on national radio.
So it's what I hear you saying is that it's the same as this, except you have an audience and you like your co-host.
I like you too, Taylor. You're just different than Rachel. Although she and I do talk about college athletics. We've been talking a lot about, we have some audio clips of SEC Shorts, which is the Southeastern Conference. We love it so much. So we didn't have to give up who we were to be on the Catholic channel. And I mean that in the best of ways. Like, I think sometimes people think that maybe they give you a script or like you have to talk about certain things, but we get to decide who our guests are. We get to decide what we talk about, and we just get to be us, which I don't think I would have said yes to the job if it had been something different. And I get to do it with her, and we get to talk about girl stuff and female perspectives, and it's pretty great. So we're loving it so far.
That's the major change on the Catholic channel. You said
Yeah,
that they let
girls.
you be yourself, meaning a woman. Like, they didn't make you change it to a man because, the other Katie.
A lot of men.
Well, when I type KAT, like when I just invited you to this, every time I send the amount of times I've sent Katie McGrady an invitation to our Zoom meetings, I'm just like, I'm sorry, that was meant for the, because I just write KAT, and if I last emailed you, which is most often, it just defaults to you. But I just emailed her yesterday because I edit her podcast. So it's like, I don't know. I almost invited the other quote unquote Katie on the Catholic channel, and she's typically the token woman. And now they've tripled the women on the station by adding y'all's show. I'm so proud of them.
And Rachel's a woman of color. And I think the channel's like, what is happening right now? But I love everybody's perspective is different. I know. Wow. The church is universal. So I'm really thrilled about that aspect of it. Just new perspectives, new voices. So the name of the show is called Strong Voices. So we're trying to highlight mostly women, although we do have a few men on occasion, just talking about what people are doing within and for the church. And so I'd say most of our guests are Catholic, but not all. Actually, we just booked a big one. I don't know if I can say that. I mean, she's going to be on in a few weeks. It's kind of a big deal. So we're pretty stoked about that. But anyway, it's tons of fun, and I hope it stays that way for a very long time.
You're a professional already. You've become the radio tease. We couldn't talk about this last month, and now you're like, there's
I got to
more
give people something to listen.
So maybe you should listen, and maybe something good will happen. That's promotion. That's right there.
Mid-October, we're going to have a big guest, and we're pretty stoked. Yeah.
I am large.
She's female, though. Sorry, Taylor.
Oh, okay. I offered yesterday at our co-ed softball practice. I've talked about this softball league before. We've been playing it. My wife and I have been playing in it for about a year. This year it moved to Mondays, speaking of change, and it used to be on Thursday. So now my wife can only come to certain games because my middle daughter has ballet practice. She's being in the Nutcracker this Christmas.
Oh,
she's
that's
playing
a big deal.
a little angel. I'm so happy.
Oh, is she one of the angel and the Nutcracker? Are you sure, Taylor?
Yep.
Do you know what she's doing?
That she's going to be an angel in the Nutcracker. That is the extent of my knowledge.
Have you seen the Nutcracker?
I have not. This will be a first for me.
I don't think there's.
Remember earlier when we said that I'm a man?
Maybe we'll add this to our show notes for the show, is to talk about what's actually in the Nutcracker. Funny story. My dad, the first time he saw the Nutcracker, about 5 minutes in, leans over and he goes, "Hey, when do they start talking?" And I said, "Hey, Dad, it's a ballet. They don't talk." And he goes, "Well, that'll be the last time I come to this thing."
Yeah, seriously.
He was like, "I don't know what happens here, but they need to start talking." I was like, "Yeah, that's not how ballets work."
Well, I'm excited.
You should be. Okay, so sorry to interrupt the story. Yes, so ballet, I know how it is. Like, you have kids in multiple places, and you got to choose where you're going to be.
Oh, I just had to go on the school's website to figure out who my kids' teachers are. We're like a month in, and I'm just like, I don't know who these people are that are emailing me. That's a whole nother thing. But so my wife we have games that can start at 6:30, 7:30, 8:30, 9:30. So she won't be able to come to the 6:30 or 7:30 games. And we have to have 4 women playing at all times because it's only fair if 40% of the team are allowed to be women. We're not quite at 50-50 yet here in Southern Texas.
Working on it.
But we're getting there. So you play 10 players.
Women are people too, Taylor.
4, no, that wouldn't be.
But only
40%.
Less than 50%.
Women are 40%.
Okay.
So 4 women have to play. There's 4 outfielders, so it makes it 10 people. Well, my wife was one of those 4, and now that she can't be there for half the games, we have to find another woman. And like without missing a beat, I was like, "How does identity work? Can I just say I'm one? Like, is there paperwork involved? Can I just say I identify as a woman and then hit 3 home runs in our softball season and play as one of the women? Like, I would like to know the process that they would go by if that's what I said. I kind of want to do it just to test the system. Like, are they going to test for things? Because what I really want to do, this is all just a ploy to get onto your show. If I can convince my city softball league that I am a woman, looking like this and hitting home runs,
they're probably just going to ask for your driver's license.
But what if I say I transitioned recently?
Well, I think they're going to have, I mean, you got to have some documentation. Like they would just be like, well, we're just going to, it's got to be uniform. So just show us your driver's license.
I don't think a co-ed softball league is going to push that hard because that's just screaming lawsuit. I think it'd be so much fun to try.
Don't do that, Taylor. Don't be that guy.
Why? Why not? Give me one reason why I shouldn't do this.
Because it's city softball, Taylor. It's like, why are you going to die on that hill? Like there's a lot of hills to die on. That ain't one of them.
I might die on the hill just from playing softball. I might have a heart attack trying to turn first base.
I'm not sure I'd stake my claim just on the city softball league. I think I
think it'd be so funny.
Yeah, you would. I would not. I would be like, just play ball. Play ball.
Play bell. That's a very funny Freudian slip. I'm a Southern belle. Exactly. That's my point.
Play ball.
Okay, we were talking about stuff.
Change
And your show. So it's on, I think you said Thursdays. It's on SiriusXM's The Catholic Channel. What do y'all do? Talk about women's stuff?
We do. So it's an hour show. So it's Thursdays, 1 East, noon Central. And we typically have a little bit of banner in the first segment. And then the second segment, we've been inviting a guest. And then the third segment, we invite callers to come in and we sort of, maybe we share like what is coming up or something that stuck out with us. We usually bring in some real world stuff, like when Alana Meyer was on Sports Illustrated cover of the swimsuit issue. We definitely talked about that. And so I think that we sort of take the slant of, we might even talk about that.
I blacked out for a second. Is that big rugby girl?
Yes. She's such a badass.
I like big rugby girl. I can't even say a sentence.
No, we talked a lot about like, what does beauty look like? What is feminine? And that was a really fun show. But I think our point is that we want to talk about what's happening in the world and then talk about it, not just from a female perspective, but through a Catholic lens. Like all the things that we do in our life can be tied back to our faith. Like where do we see Jesus in some of those places, or where do we see the absence of him? And then what does that look like when we talk to our kids at the dining room table? So while both of us are moms and we have 12 kids between the two of us, it's certainly not focused on just things for females who are moms. Like I think men listening to the show will gain something. I think that if you're single, you'll gain something. So we try to remember that the church is full of all sorts of different people in different seasons of life. But how do we take this one thing that's happening in the world and break it down and look at it differently? And then what do we do with that, after the hour's over? Like, how do we go back out into the world? So I'm really loving the conversations that we're having. I mean, it'll be interesting this week because A&M, I'm an Aggie. She's a Florida Gator.
Wait, what?
I know, shocking. And Rachel's a Florida Gator. And so they had a big game this weekend. And so we'll definitely be chatting. I'm going to have to give her send her some roses or something. It was a rough weekend for the Gators. So we don't shy away from that stuff either. Like we'll probably talk about bourbon this week, maybe. Honestly, we make a list of things that we're going to talk about and we never get to them all. So
I wouldn't know anything about that.
we just sort of see where the Holy Spirit takes us. But so far, our guests have been thought-provoking and funny and endearing, and I don't expect that to change. I'm sure that they will continue to be fantastic additions to the show. And yeah,
Thought-provoking sounds like a lady rapper.
Taylor, stop it.
Come on. Come on. Okay. Well, that's very exciting. I'm very happy
Thank
for you. SiriusXM Catholic Channel was my dream job, and now I've helped 2 other people get that job instead of me. So
Women,
that's my
mind you. Good job, Taylor.
Yeah.
2 women.
That's my good person. Pat myself on the back. I can pat myself on the back while being incredibly upset with how with where I stand in my life. But everybody else seems to be doing well.
Stop.
Everybody else gets the positive changes. I get the negative ones. Speaking of which, there is a change that has been made, but you can't see it yet. And it's because I can't see currently. I haven't gotten my eyes checked since I was a small child. Like, to the point where I
Taylor.
cannot remember the last time I got my eyes checked. Like, it was high school sports or junior high sports or something. I haven't had my eyes checked because
Taylor Schroll. That's not good.
I had 20/20 vision for a very long time. I had 15/20 vision in one eye, meaning you should know this from your bartending. Whenever you're working, y'all have those mirrors in your little workout room where they're like, it's 2 mirrors that meet each other,
Yeah.
and then there's like that long whatever crack in the middle.
The seam. Yes.
Yeah, I was trying to think about how to say that without making it sound weird. The seam would have been perfect. So what I could do if I stood right in front of those when I was a child, I could close one eye and I was standing 20 feet away and I was 20 feet away. Then I could close the other eye and I was zoomed in. So I had like zoom vision. So something happened in the last, year or so. I started noticing maybe about 6 months ago that like when I'm sitting at church and we're typically sitting around in the middle of the pews. Like we're not far back, but we're not front people either. We're kind of just right in the middle. Just right. Yeah, we're middle people. And I was noticing that like if I wanted to see what song that I definitely wasn't going to sing along with, I couldn't read those numbers. And then in my monthly poker league, if the cards were on my half of the table, let's say I'm sitting, like a poker table, right? So it's like those essentially a long dinner table, right? So if you're dealing the cards at your head of the table and I'm at my head of the table, I can't see any of the cards. So I was like, I'm the second youngest person at the table, and I'm like, can you read the cards out, please? And they're like, Jack of Diamonds.
I like that your 2 examples are the songs at church and the poker cards at poker night. Like
right.
The 2 sides of Taylor. Yes.
And the other one was I couldn't read the scoreboard at the football facility, which is like, that's who I am as a perfect. I was like, I'm struggling at the things that I actually care about, right? So I went and got my eyes checked yesterday, and it's one of the worst experiences I've ever had in my life. Not really, but it was very annoying. So doctor's offices, I don't understand. It's like the meme of like how do they keep getting away with this? I don't understand how they keep getting away with this. If I'm 15 minutes late, they're going to be like, it's a cancellation, $100 fee. But then they tell me my time was at 3:10. They said you have to be here by 2:50 to fill out paperwork because it's your first time coming here. And they were like, it's your first time coming here? I was like, sweetie, I don't remember the last time I got my eyes checked. Yes, it's my first time coming here. So I get there at 2:50 and they're just rushing me. Get the paperwork out. Your thing's in 20 minutes. You got to hurry up. So I go and I quote unquote hurry up. It takes me 3 minutes to fill out these 9 pieces of paper because it's just like, are you currently dying? No. I just check no on everything and I write everything. Okay, everything's fine. So my appointment was at 3:10. I got there at 2:50 to fill out paperwork. I want you to guess what time the doctor saw me.
4.
Worse. Way worse.
5.
4:50. I was seen by the doctor 2 hours after I arrived. 2 hours.
So let me give you a pro tip from someone who spends a lot of time in doctor's offices.
Oh, I thought about you multiple times.
When you go and check in, I always say, is the doctor running on time? How far behind is he or she? They have to tell you by law, oh, there's 3 patients ahead of you, or it's going to be 45 minutes. Or so I always ask because it helps manage my expectations. Because when I had little kids that I was carting with us, along with the kid who actually was being seen by the doctor, you need to know, do I need to entertain myself or my children for 20 minutes or 2 hours? And so I always ask, and another pro tip, you should never make an appointment for middle of the afternoon because they are always running behind. Because the best times to make appointments, first one in the morning or the one right after lunch.
Right after lunch is smart because I always avoid the morning because we're never going to know if I'm awake or not. So I will now
Couple
do
of pro
after
tips
lunch.
for you.
Yeah,
Yep,
that's
right
great.
after lunch.
That's great. So I'm an idiot, and I had to sit there for forever. And like the weirdest part being, like, 45 to an hour in, I had to pee, but I'm like, I'm not getting up because I just know my luck that I'm going to go pee, and the 30 seconds that I'm in they're going to call my name. And then they're going to be like, "Oh, we didn't know you were here. We called your name," and I would have been so upset. So
you can just tell them. They won't skip over you. This isn't McDonald's. They're not going to throw your stuff in the trash. Like, Taylor.
Yeah, exactly. You're fired. So I go back there, and the nurse, I guess, I don't know, incredibly tall woman. I was very impressed. I was like, so volleyball or basketball was my first question. She's like, volleyball. She's taller than me, which is difficult to do. She went and checked my eyes, and she's like, "Are you sure you've never gotten your eyes checked before? Like, are you sure?" And then the doctor comes in a little bit later. Are you sure you've never gotten your eyes checked? Apparently, I'm blind. I had no idea.
Taylor.
So one of my eyes is like essentially fine. Like I do need a little bit of glasses on my right eye, but my left eye, they're like, we don't understand how you've been living. Because the worst part being, I have the astigmatism, which until very recently, the word stigma's in there. So I thought it was like a stigmatism. It's all one word.
Astigmatism.
So I have that. And I didn't really know. I know that my mom has it, so it's her fault, I guess. But
I have it.
Well, it's not your fault. You had nothing to do with it.
It's not my fault.
It was never as bad. I haven't had my eyes dilated. I literally can't remember. I haven't had my eyes dilated since I was a child that I could not remember these things. They dilated my eyes. They put this little yellow thing into my eye. They put a blue light like a centimeter away from my eye. And then they kept showing me all these things. When they dilated my eyes, I had never really noticed the stigmatism, maybe a little bit driving at night. Like, I guess a little bit of the lights were, kind of bleeding a little bit. But when they diluted my eyes, is that the right word? Dilated my eyes? When they dilated my eyes.
You don't want your eyes diluted.
Well, that's what I felt like. They dilated my eyes and I felt drunk.
Well, what it does is it relaxes the muscles, muscles in your eyeballs. It relaxes the muscles. So what your eyes, we were just at the eye doctor this week. I just had this long discussion with the eye doctor, is that what happens is your good eye is overcompensating and it's always flexed. And so they have to relax those muscles. So no matter how hard you try, you can't overcompensate. And then they can see what's actually going on with your eyes.
That makes sense. Because they were asking me, because the nurse lady had done the test. She's like 1 or 2, 3 or 4, 5 or 6. And like, for the most part, I couldn't tell a difference. I'm like, I can't read any of it. Like, not being able to read the letter to not being able to read the letter is no change. Like, there's no change. It's not like she's just like, which one's better? I'm like, is it an F? Is it a 6? Is it a T? Is it an I? I don't know. I can't tell you. So then they dilate my eyes and they come back in. And everybody knows how those little it's like the big letter, a big letter, then a line of little bit smaller. Then a little bit smaller.
E is the one on the top, yeah.
Right, yeah. So, but what started happening once they dilated my eyes is now I was seeing every row thrice. So they were asking me what letter, and I'm like, I'm drunk. I can't tell you. I don't know. They're like, can you read which? the most basic question, which line do you think you can read? I'm like, there were 9 lines earlier. There's 35 now. I can't tell you what line I'm reading, and I don't even know what it is. So It was this crazy experience. And then it got worse. And this is where I really thought of you. I didn't think of you as much when I was in the waiting room, but I did think of you because the one thing that you have said that probably plays in my mind the most often is don't pay your medical bills. That's who you are in my life, is the don't pay your medical bills person.
Never pay the first bill.
So I found this doctor on my insurance's website. They're like, find somebody in network. Here we go. I found them in network. I call them. And I say, hi, I'd like to set up an appointment. My insurance says you're in network. Can you, do y'all take my insurance? She said, yes. And I said, okay. And then whenever they took my insurance after my 3.5 hour wait, it's not 3.5, it felt like it's 2 hour wait. I don't even need to exaggerate for it to be ridiculous. I don't know why I did that. So she said, oh yeah, we take your insurance. And then I finished everything after they put 19 gallons of liquid into my eyes. And then they were like, hey, now that you can't see, we're going to actually run your insurance. And guess what? You don't have insurance.
They should have done that before, Taylor.
I know! Here's the craziest thing. They said, we've never seen this before. And again, I said, I don't see anything. There's like 9 of you right now. I don't know what's happening. And they were like, yeah, okay. So me and my 3 kids are on my plan. We have a health plan with Blue Cross Blue Shield. Blue Cross Blue Shield. And we just learned last month when my son had to do all this eye stuff that for some reason our eye insurance is through this thing called iMed, but it's all connected to Blue Cross Blue Shield. This is I didn't know any of this, right?
You should have called me. I could have helped you, Taylor.
I should have. So I have coverage. I have health coverage. The kids have health coverage. Apparently, our vision coverage, which Taylor is the only person paying, but Taylor doesn't have coverage. The 3 kids have vision coverage, but no, I don't know how this happened. I don't know how I picked one coverage. It was Blue Cross Blue Shield. They therefore gave me Blue Cross Blue Shield health coverage. I had to pick Humana for our dental coverage. I remember picking that. The vision just came as part of the Blue Cross, and they're like, everybody gets it except the bald guy. He doesn't get it.
You just need to appeal it.
It's crazy. So
yeah, just appeal the bill.
I couldn't. They're like, look, I'm going to talk to my business manager in the morning. We'll call you tomorrow before we run anything. I went next door to get the lenses and glasses ordered. They're like, you don't have insurance. So I left, went to Sam's Club today, ended up having to pay $300 out of pocket for the lenses and, whatever lenses and what are those called? Frames. $300 out of pocket sucks. But the good news is yesterday was supposed to be $280 billed to the insurance. And then I was supposed to pay like 40 or $50. They did call this morning and they're like, look, we've never seen this before. We know that you didn't do it on purpose because I was clearly very confused yesterday. So they were like, we're just charging you $40 and we're moving on. I'm like, okay, that's so kind, right?
That's good.
So that part's taken care of. I paid for the glasses out of pocket. And I guess we're going into this enrollment period in October, and I'll be like, "Can I have eyes, please? May I please keep my eyes?"
I would still appeal the claim because with insurance companies, it depends on the coverage. They'll cover up to a certain percentage or a certain amount of both frames and lenses, but I would appeal it. So there's a great book. He's no longer alive, but he was an amazing advocate. I did a podcast interview with him actually earlier this year, but he wrote a book called Never Pay the First Bill. And he talks specifically about bogus billing, that they will say that you're not covered or something will happen. And you're like, actually, I always wait 30 days before I pay any bill because the CPT code, which is like the code that insurance uses to code the kind of services that you receive, inevitably someone will forget a number, put the wrong number down. So I always wait at least 30 days, but I would definitely appeal the claim and have them reprocess it. And you can go on Blue Cross's website, and this is any insurance. Sorry, this feels like a commercial, but you can go on any insurance company and read the coverage. What's really helpful is if you'll call your insurance company and say, "Can you tell me how did I visited with a gal and she
How the
said,
hell this happened? That's what I
no,
want to say.
she'll say, I trust that you can help me figure this out. So you're basically giving the person who's on the other end of the phone the power, like you believe in them. So always being calm, but when you call, I believe that you can help me solve this problem. Can you explain to me where in my coverage it says that? Like what page is that on? Where is that at? Or can you show me that? Because then that gives you, because you can't get something covered if it's not covered, but you can find the documentation, and then if you need to appeal it, then you're like, and here's the information that I needed. So I would definitely
So what you're
appeal it.
telling me is I have to lie.
Nope. You have to ask for help.
Well, I don't mind asking for help, but you told me that I have to say that I trust that they can help me, and I've never been
They
helped by a
can.
person. I've never been helped by a person on the phone. I've gotten the screw from people on the phone. I've never been helped, so I have to lie to get what I want. That's what I hear.
You have to empower them to do their job. Because think about it, most of the time, the people that they're talking to are mad at them, right? But when you encourage them to be like, I trust that you can do your job and we're going to figure this out, then they sort of take it on themselves to be like, you know what? I can do this. I can help them figure this out. And it
And then
changes
10
the
minutes
tone.
later, when they inevitably can't help me, then I'll yell at them.
I will say it changes your attitude of, like, how you talk to them. Because trust me, there have been some conversations that I've had with insurance companies and billing agents and billing offices that I regret because I was so frustrated and, you get emotional and it's money and it's, or if it's one of your kids. So, and just keep everything like I would write down what we said, and then I would be like I would repeat it back. So this is what you're telling me, and like if they had an email, I would email them and be like, this is how it works. So I think it's helpful to sort of document all the things coming from someone who's been around the block or two
Yeah,
with medical
yeah.
stuff.
I thought of you multiple times, very, very much so.
I feel so
Okay,
honored.
other things with change. I have my question for you is what what has been the task or what's a skill that you have picked up most recently? Like, what's a skill that you did not have before that in the last few months or last year or so that you have picked up? Whether you're great or bad at it,
Mm.
what's a new skill that you've tried?
I think not seeing my kids as projects or problems to be solved. I think we were raised thinking that if someone didn't understand something or someone wasn't getting something, that it's because they weren't taught well, and I think I'm learning that my kids have different learning styles and need a different side of mom. Like, some of them need me to be more patient, some of them need me to push them more, and it's figuring out what that kid needs when. It's humbling, I'll say that, because 'cause I'm like, "Why are you not figuring this out?" And then I'm like, "Oh, it's because I need to be more patient and recognize that this isn't a problem that I have to solve, but rather it's a kid that needs me to listen." So I'd say that's the biggest thing, especially the last 3 that are home just have very different needs than my older 3, and I believe that was designed by God because now I have more time to focus on what they need that I did not have when I had all 6 at home. So, at first I was really ticked off, like, "Why does it have to be this hard?" And now I'm like, "Okay." And then you get, like, a little win and you're like, "Okay, we can do hard things. We can figure this out." And I'm starting to see some of my kids really like, thrive in that. It's me that needs to change really, less them. So, I'd say a moment of vulnerability there. That's probably what I've noticed in the last year.
Yeah, it's gonna be real difficult to pivot to my stupid example after that very serious one. So, but I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you for
Thank
making that
you.
change. The only thing that I could really connect with is for some reason this is pinging that I've talked with you about this before, but talking about like getting better as a parent. The longer you do something, hopefully the better you're getting at it, and not only that, but like the different situation, like when there were multiple kids home versus when there's 3 now. One of the things that has been changing in my life is everything at our kids' school. We talked a little bit about this our last time together. everything's different. I've been there for 10 years. I'm now the third longest tenured person on the coaching staff. Like it's crazy. And there's all these new people, and I'm just like, everything's different, and I don't know how anything's going. And they're texting me asking how things are going, and then decisions are made. I'm like, why didn't he just ask somebody? Like it's just that's what happens when there's new people. You lose a bunch of like institutional knowledge, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's good things and great new things happening, but at the same time, just like, I don't know. Maybe it would be helpful to have all the information before you make a decision, like that sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
But what's funny is there's been one person that has been constant in my entire coaching journey. There have been people who have been around me for like 6 years of my 10 years of coaching, but there's only one person who has been there for all 10. So this would be like my closest similarity to like your older kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you've been a parent for longer than 10 years, but like your entire parenting journey, your oldest was there with you, right? Mm-hmm. My entire coaching journey, one kid. I coached him as a 8th grader in junior high. I coached him all 4 years of his high school. And then the last 4 seasons, he's been my assistant coach. And so then we're going into season 10, where I have coached him for 5, and he is now coaching with me for 5. And he's quiet. Like he's older now, so he's less quiet now, but like he was a really quiet kid. And so it's just always funny when he says something like provocative or like it, like that really like kind of shocking. Cause like, nobody's surprised when I say something shocking, right? Nobody's shocked when I say something shocking. But when he says something shocking, we're like, what? And he had this thing where he was watching me coach sometime this last season. He's like, it makes me angry how much better you are at this. He's like, you never told me that when I was coaching long and triple jump. And we have had some incredible long and triple jumpers over the last couple of seasons, like state champions, because obviously the kids are incredible. They're great athletes, but like I've gotten better and I'm doing a lot better. Our entire jumping program is better than we were the first 5 years because I've learned stuff and gotten better and learned how to deal with kids and do the technical stuff. And it's like, he was like, it makes me mad that you weren't this good when I was a kid. I'm like, I don't know what you want me to do. Like, I don't know how, like, I am growing and improving. Isn't that what you want? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, then what are you upset about? So I can imagine your older kids being like that because I'm the oldest too, right? Of like, hey, why do these 3 get all the attention?
You're like, when did you get to be a better mom? Why didn't we get that advantage? Yeah, I think I'm much more willing to say that I'm wrong. I'm not saying that I'm excellent at it, but I'm better at it than I used to be.
I'm not saying that I'm wrong, but I'm better at it.
But I'm saying that occasionally when people might perceive that I'm wrong, no, I think I am more readily saying, please forgive me, or I messed that up. Whereas before I used to blow it off or sort of ride it away. And now I'm finding that I own it more than I used to. And I only had one sibling growing up, so I just have more practice. Like sometimes people are like, "Oh, how do you know that?" And I'm like, "Because we've done it 6 times. Like I've potty trained 6 kids. Like we've sent 3 kids off to college or at least out the door, and it's just because I've had more experience to mess up." So I'm glad that I'm getting better. I mean, I think I would be sad if my kids are like, "Man, you have gotten so much worse at being a mom." Like, I'm grateful that they can see that I'm growing too as a mom and as a human. And then I'm seeing them grow, things that some of my older ones are like, "Was I really like that?" And I'm like, "Yes. Yes, you were. And look how much you've grown." And they're recognizing it too. They're like, "Wow, I can't believe I used to say that," or "I can't believe I used to do that." And I'm like, "Well, you're growing up. You're allowed to make mistakes all the way until you die." Like we were telling the kids the other day, I said, your dad and I are in our 50s and we are still making mistakes. So congratulations. You're going to be making them for the rest of your life, but they don't have to define you.
Yeah, I've got no transition to my dumb examples.
I'm sorry, Taylor.
No, it's fine. You're being who you are. And I'm just not at my best right now. So we're just going to say, this is a transition and then transition to the next part. So change has been on my mind a lot, right? So we've had all these examples of change, but like I have been in this like fog of change for the last like 6 months because everything seems to be changing.
Mhm.
Most of it negative. Honestly, most of it has been negative.
Yeah.
But it's weird because the thing that I desire most right now in my life, I mean, yeah, other than, I want my kids to be holy and safe. Yes, I understand that. But like the thing that is on my mind the most in the last 6 months, I would like to move into my new house. That is a big change, a very large change, one of the bigger ones that you can do as a family. That my primary desire right now is for this house to sell so that we can move into a new house and therefore be happy. I know that's not how the world works, but that's how my brain is seeing it right now, right? And yet, everything else is changing and it's pissing me off.
At least you're honest.
It's making me, in some weird way, I have an aversion to change. I do not like it. And yet my largest desire right now is for it to happen. So I'm mad that it's not happening and it's taking freaking forever and everything's going poorly. I have documented this well on the show, right? We're doing everything right that we possibly could. And then, we need a new water heater. There goes $2,500. Our car was stolen. We need to do that. Oh, this car broke. Oh, great. We got to do that. Oh, our kid's school is now triple what it was supposed to be. I don't have eye insurance. Like everything's going poorly. Everything's going poorly, right? I would like more money and I would like to move into this new house. And yet there's this strange thing that like it is making me more open to negative change, but also I am doing a bunch of new things that I like. So it's weird. It's like I've heightened the negative change, like mostly happening to me, but I've also been like, a lot of it is tied to the house, but not all of it. So I walked into my cryo place the other day, which I've talked about on the show. I've been doing for 2 months now. It's new, and I go every day, and I love it. Big change in my life. It's helping me lose weight. It's helping me be healthy. Very good. By the way, I posted the other day, I've lost 15 pounds in the last year. Big change.
Taylor,
doing great.
Good job.
And typically when I lose weight, it's because I get sick and then it goes right back up to where it was. But like I posted my average the other day, and a year ago this month, I was 285 average for the month. And this month I'm like 270 average. So it's, coming off, staying off, slow, steady. It's going good, right? I think the cryo and the sauna and the red light and, taking care of myself is helping, right? But I walked into my cryo place the other day. Very simple. Very simple. Typically they have these like movie chairs, like movie theater chairs that you sit in for the compression. 2 chairs facing away from you when you walk in, then 1 chair in front of it. I didn't necessarily like that setup because it was weird. Like if I had my feet up, my feet was right next to like the cooler that had the water bottles in it. So it was weird. Like you have to walk by my toes to get a water. It just wasn't good for anybody, right? And yet, even though I didn't like the setup, they changed it the other day. And instead of it being set up that way, all 3 chairs are now facing, like they're on the left wall and facing the door when you come in. I don't like it. Because now I'm staring at people when they walk in, and I'm staring at, it's only women that work here. And now I'm just like staring at these women sitting at the desk. It's like they're like right in front of me when I'm sitting in this chair. And typically, like I have my AirPods in, I'm listening to an audiobook, but inevitably, I open my eyes randomly because I'm like usually dozing off while I'm doing compression, and I'm staring at these girls. I'm like, I don't want to be doing this. I don't want to be doing this. So I don't like the change. And yet, it's still probably better than the previous one. So even though it's a change that I probably think it's better, the amount of anxiety that pops up into me when I'm going to this place to relax, I don't like it. I don't like the change. Even though I cognitively know that it is better, I don't like it.
Have you mentioned to the front desk, hey, have y'all thought about changing the orientation of that? Because whenever I sit, this is what I see, or, maybe just it's sort of we had a paradox in one of my leadership classes at A&M, and the paradox is called the Road to Abilene paradox. In other words, the video was showing these 4 people and they're in the car and nobody wanted to go to Abilene, but yet no one would say, don't get off on the exit. They're like, well, we just assume that everybody else wants to go to Abilene. So they didn't take the exit and they went to Abilene. And we're like, So it's called the Road to Abilene. Like everyone went to Abilene and no one wanted to go. So it could be that nobody else likes it, but no one has spoken up and you're all on the road to Abilene.
I want you to rethink this. You know me pretty well. I want you to answer your own question. Do you think I've mentioned this to the front desk?
I mean, you probably have, but how? I think the bigger question is, how did you mention it,
The
Taylor?
answer is yes. I want you to tell me how quickly you think I did.
Oh, literally the first day that you saw it.
I opened the door and I said, "Hey, how are you? I don't like it."
Of course you did. So this is called, there's nuance in the delivery, Taylor. Like, okay.
What you're telling me once again is when I'm interacting with other people, I need to lie and not say what's on my mind.
I'm saying that you need to recognize the human person before you open your mouth.
I did. I said hello.
Taylor.
It was funny. So I'm there every day. It's like I know these women. I've there's like 4 or 5 of them that work there, and I see them every day. So it's like I've only known them for 2 months, but like we've more recently I've been talking to them during my compression because like typically when I go, it's not busy. So like there are times where they haven't seen another person for like 2 hours because they'll be booked up like crazy and then nobody there. And I have figured out, we talked about the doctor's office earlier, I have figured out the times that nobody goes, and that's when I like to go because it's easier for me to relax if nobody's there, and cryo is colder when nobody has been in there for a while. So I figured that out, right? Because again, I go every day. I'm not in doctor's offices every day like you are. So I'm growing in my expertise there. But it was funny because that first day, I jokingly said it, we laughed about it, whatever, right? But then when I was doing the thing, that first day, I was dozing off, and then right when I opened my eyes, I'm staring at this girl. I'm like, I was like, can we do something about this? This is weird. And they're just like, oh, I don't know. We're just trying something new. I was like, okay, whatever. So I don't like it, but positive ones. 2 positive changes that I have made. 2 things that, because there's so much change in my life, there are 2 things that I have had an aversion to for most of my life that I am trying out and improving on. One of which being cooking. I never cook. It's why I got married. Like that's, I just was like,
guys can cook too. Okay.
Not this guy. You should have. I was legendary in college for.
Haven't you watched Ratatouille? Anyone can cook.
I don't. No, the rat cooked, not the man. Did you not watch Ratatouille?
But the man learns how to cook.
From a rat. That's not something I desire in my
Does
life.
it matter? He learns how.
Yes, it clearly matters. I do not want a rat running on my head. I don't know why you think this is a good idea.
This is imaginary, Taylor. I'm just, the point being,
yeah. So is me in the kitchen. but I understand it's not very impressive. But for me, it's actually pretty impressive. One of the things that we've been doing is try to save money. Is we've been using our Sam's Club thing and trying out new foods. Again, trying new things, right? They have all these different frozen options, fresh ready-made options, and we've been loving it, right? And it's making me not go out to eat as much, and I can cook for myself at home. So some of the stuff's just like, it's frozen, you put it in the oven. That's not what I'm talking about. But there was one day that they have like Sam's Club wings. So like, bone-in wings. Typically, I'm a boneless person, but again, in the last 6 months, guess what I've ordered every time? Bone-in wings. I don't know why. I don't like change, but I'm forced into it. So now I'm choosing it. I don't know if it's just like I feel helpless. So I'm like, if I choose the change, it can't be chosen for me. I don't know why I'm doing this, but I'm doing it. So I made wings the other day, which that part's not super impressive either. But I used like a meat thermometer for the first time in my life, and they came out pretty good. But the part that I was really proud of myself for was learning how to put sauce on wings. Again, I know this isn't super impressive, but I've never done anything like it in my life. And we had these 2 sauces, one of which like Frank's Red Hot sauce, but it's specifically for buffalo wings. So I went and got that. And I learned I heated them both up. I learned how to toss wings in the sauce. And I had wings at my house. I was so proud of myself.
Yeah, you can make here's a spoiler alert. You can make any food at your house.
I'm going to cook that rat.
Any food that you like, you can make at your house.
That's a
That's a big
stretch.
honestly, that's a big skill to learn of having to learning to prepare the things that it is that you love, and there can be a lot of joy there, like connection with your family, but also you get to be the beneficiary of knowing what's in your food and then putting good food in your body.
And then my wife was like, wow, this is very impressive. So it worked out for everybody.
Good job. Good job, Taylor.
The last one. And this one was the one that I'm ultimately the most proud of, but I wouldn't be proud if how I acted and spoke during was publicized. Because another skill that I do not have at all is woodworking. Anything that has to do with improving the house, I suck at.
You're not handy?
No, not at all. That all I would have to do is show the city of Bryan my woodworking and housemaking skills, and they'd be like, "Yeah, you're a woman. You're good. You could come on in. You can play first base as a girl." There's not much going on, right?
Girls can be handy too, Taylor.
I'm not going to say what I just thought. I feel like I'd get in trouble no matter
my
what
dad.
I say.
So I grew up in the construction business, and my dad showed me how to do all those things. Now, did my dad do that? No, he just hired a sub to do it. But I know how to do all those things. And then subsequently, I married a guy who's pretty handy. Are you learning how to be handy?
I am.
It's a major skill that will save you hundreds of thousands of dollars.
I am starting to pick things up. I still don't trust myself fully. So like with the water heater, it involved, gas and explosions. I'm like, I'm not doing that. But
that's what they make YouTube for.
Well, that's what I've been doing, but yeah. I don't want to explode my house. So this past weekend, I put molding all on the ceiling, the ceiling of my living room, and all new molding in my bathroom. So like the molding from like our shower
molding.
Yeah. So the molding around the shower, and then all the baseboards, not all of them, but anything by the shower was rotting. Like the wood was rotting because over the years water from the shower gets into that wood. Sure. Blah blah blah. And one of the last people that came to look at the house, that was trying to buy the house, was like, "We don't like the wood rot." So I'm like, okay. I pulled out all that wood. I went to Lowe's multiple times because I definitely didn't make one trip.
No one makes one trip.
I learned how to make, my neighbor helped me out by loaning me his saw that can make 45-degree cuts. Like I have one that can make straight line
compound
cuts.
Saw.
Yeah. But he had the one where I could make the 45-degree cut, so I did it. And it wasn't perfect, but it looks 95% better than it did before. Now, I made a few mistakes, so there's still that 5% that like, oh, that could look better, but it's way better than rotten wood, right?
Sure.
And I also learned, like, I messed some things up on this project, but I learned, and next time I won't make those same mistakes, right? So it was incredibly fulfilling to be able to take on this project, and it's almost done. I do this a lot where like I'm trying something new, and I have all this like this energy and this like positive momentum to do it. And then I do it and I get so frustrated where I'm like, I'll finish the project. I still right now have to go put the another dangerous word to say on this.
Caulking.
Yes, I need to go do that. And then just finish up some paint. The project is 95% done. I have the other 5% and I've been putting it off for 2 or 3 days. Frankly, because I'm sore as hell from not only the saw, I also bought a nail gun. Yeah, see, I can't even say words about this stuff. And I use that. What a breeze.
Did you have a compressor nail gun? Is that what you had?
Yeah, it's battery based, so it's not air, but it's
okay.
I have like a little battery that goes on there. It was very expensive, but cheaper than having somebody else do this. So I'm proud of myself, just not proud of all the words I said during the project.
Just make sure when you're using the nail gun that you're not hitting metal.
Children?
Because then that nail will go in and come right back out on your finger.
Oh, I shared earlier that my biggest desire in life right now is to sell this house and to move into the new one. My second biggest desire is to take this nail gun to a shooting range and see how far it can actually shoot. Because I'm not going to test it out here. I feel like I could have some fun target practice with this thing.
Yeah, we've got an air compressor nail gun, and that bad boy can put a nail in some molding in a hurry. So, yeah, it's
I
fun.
just want to know, can it shoot 10 feet? Can it shoot 30 feet?
I
Can it
don't
shoot
think
100 feet? I don't
these
know.
are not things that you need to know, Taylor. That's not what it's
Oh,
designed
there's
for.
going to be a video about this on the Forte Catholic YouTube channel within the next few
Sure
weeks.
there will be. I'm waiting with bated breath. I'm sure there will be. No, there is a lot of satisfaction in seeing something. Like, the thing that I love about home improvement projects is that you can see something that needs to be fixed, and then you can fix it and see the end result. It's incredibly gratifying. And it also makes you feel really accomplished, like mastering something that you didn't know how to do. And then you're like, hey, that wasn't that hard. Or it was hard, but I somehow figured it out. And the next time I do it, it won't be that hard. I feel like that's an analogy for life.
I think so too. I think it's a great place to end, which means we're not going to end there. I have one more thing. We're killing our transitions today. Final change that I'm making in my life, and then I'll let you get out of here because I think you're picking up children or something.
I am.
There's
Yes.
something you have to do. Okay. I am also making another change that I don't like. I have constantly been against two things in my professional career. One, apologetics. It's just not what I do. Like, this whole show started because the only thing that was on Catholic radio at the time was apologetics. And I'm like, we need to do something different. And also, I tend to, unless something really pisses me off, I tend to stay away from controversial topics because I want people that listen to enjoy listening. And I know it's a great way to build an audience by just pandering to one side and making everybody else mad. Just not who I am. It's just not who I am. Well,
really, that's weird.
Yeah, our old pastor, which, I used to work at the church for a very long time, so I still just like, yeah, I'll do it. We're taking a break from the foundation. We always take a break from the foundations course in the fall because we don't run an alpha class in the summer, and therefore I don't have an incoming class. So foundations always runs in a spring semester and a summer semester. Well, he was like, let's keep it going. And let's do an apologetics course for the whole parish. And I'm like, woof. And then he said, let's do controversial topics. That'll get people there. And I go, oh boy. So what you want is for me to take all this goodwill that I've built up with these people that have gone through foundations, because that's the primary invite. Anybody in the parish can come, but anybody who's been through foundations, there's some kind of, pun intended, foundation of faith and rapport with me, but also just like, if you have the basics of the faith, it's easier to do apologetic stuff. But he's like, yeah, I want you to tackle the church's take on homosexuality and gay marriage. I want you to tackle, abortion. I want you to tackle stuff that's coming up in the election. I'm like, oh, you mean the one topic that I never talk about? The election? Like, that's like prime for everything that I just said I hate. Like, picking a side and making it, you're stupid and I'm right, and 50, it's 50%. It comes down to 50% every time. It's just crazy to me, right? So I'm teaching an apologetics course starting in a few weeks at my parish. And I think a lot of my assumption is most of the goodwill that I have built up in the last 10 years at this parish is going to be gone by the end of this fall. Because I feel like no matter what I say about any of those hot button topics, I'm going to piss off everybody.
Can I ask why you have to, like, sometimes I think, particularly in an election year, we feel like we must stake our claim. Like, we must let people know that this is AKA the position of the church. And we end up caring more about the position than we do about the people that are affected by the position. Does that make sense?
Oh, 100%. And that's why I'm going to make most people at my parish angry. Because every night that we do a controversial topic, I'm going to teach what the church teaches in the second half. And the first half is going to completely be, how do we treat people that deal with X, Y, and Z? Because that's where I think the problem, we're in a primarily conservative, small-ish town. I mean, it's bigger than most places, but, small town vibe.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there will be a few people that disagree with the church teaching, and that's fine. That's fine. That's not what I'm worried about. What I'm worried about is the people who agree with church teaching and yet don't live by it. That's what I'm worried about.
Actually, I'm okay with people who don't believe in the church teaching, because I actually think that's where the most fruit can be.
I am? Yeah.
Well, but don't most of us well, this is another topic for another podcast, but most of us live in the gray, and we should struggle with things that the
Yeah,
church teaches. Because if
absolutely.
it were all easy, hell, the whole world would be Christian. But it requires sacrifice, but it also requires you to get uncomfortable. Like, I mean, we live in Austin. There are many issues that I see, and I'm like, I don't want to deal with that because it makes me uncomfortable. And that's when God's like, actually, I'm going to need you to get uncomfortable. I'm going to need you to
Yeah,
stretch and grow a little bit. And we don't like to do that.
I don't. I there was a
Nobody.
quote yesterday
Speaking of change, nobody likes to do that.
in my 2-hour wait yesterday in my doctor's office. There was this quote, and I felt very challenged by it. G.K. Chesterton, we know him, right?
Oh, wonderful.
This is in my eye doctor's office, which I was surprised by. It says each generation is converted by the saint who contradicts it most. Each generation is converted by the saint who contradicts it the most. And I feel like most of my quote unquote ministry is how can we in the faith and the culture, how can we live life together? How can we do this thing together? And I saw this quote and he's just like, actually be completely different. I'm like, crap, I don't want to. And then I have to do this apologetics course. And I think I have the skills and the ability to do this, but I don't really have the desire to. But yet I'm still happy I said yes.
Okay.
So kind of a weird spot, but that's the spot that I'm in. So the change is I'm about to lose all goodwill from everyone closest to me. That's the big change happening this fall, not a new house.
Maybe not, though. Maybe all that goodwill that you've built up will help them see an issue in a different way that they hadn't seen before because they trust you.
I hope so. I am worried about it. But we're trying something new and we'll see how it goes.
Well, I mean, yeah, let us know how it goes.
Yeah, I will. So
I'm sure you will.
We just set out the schedule. So we're going to go 8 weeks every Wednesday night in the church, which was not my decision. That was the DRE's decision. And I love that decision because on the nights that I don't want to do Q&A, we're going to pray. I'm going to give my talk. We're going to pray for 10 minutes and I'm going to be like, it's time for you to go now.
Jesus is here. Yeah.
I like that a lot. So we're doing the purpose of apologetics and the purpose of sharing the faith, proofs of God's existence, faith and science. And then we're doing a 2-parter, like typical Protestant rebuffs to Catholicism. We'll do, we'll take a few minutes on all of those. We'll do hell, the devil, problem of evil, homosexuality, gay marriage, and then pro-life, pro-choice. So at least I'm saving the really big ones for the end so I can build up rapport for 6 weeks and then have everybody hate me. So it'll be great.
Let me know how it goes. I can't wait.
I can't imagine it goes well. So that's our show for today. I'm Taylor Schroll. That's Kathryn Whitaker. I'll be back next week. She'll be back in a month. See ya. Thank you for watching and listening today. I hope that you enjoyed it. We had a great conversation about some silly things, some important things, and I was very good at transitions. So if y'all had a great time, if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe. Check out some of the other great things we have over on our YouTube channel, our Catholic Foundation series, which is like an introduction to Catholicism. I'm also leading an apologetics course at our parish for the next 8 weeks. So as this is releasing, the next 8 Wednesdays at St. Joseph's Church in Bryan, Texas, I'll be teaching an 8-part apologetics series, and we'll also be posting those every week on our YouTube channel as well, youtube.com/Forte Catholic. That's the new stuff going on around here. Thank you guys for hanging out with us today. Love you. Bye.